All right, hi guys. Today we're doing a super simple breakdown of choke sizes, and we're gonna dabble a little bit into shot sizes, not too much, but this is just gonna be a super general, basic guide to chokes. Now, chokes can come in many different shapes and forms. You can get rifle chokes, you can get ported chokes, you can get a bunch of different stuff depending on what you're doing, and the more detailed you are into your certain type of hunting or shooting in general. Like some people who are shooting super high flying geese will have extended chokes that'll reach out past the tip of your barrel, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, without further ado, this is gonna be a good breakdown. All right, so in front of me, I've got a couple of H&R and Mossberg style chokes. As seen here, usually H&R and Mossbergs are interchangeable. Anytime you buy a choke on the package, you should be able to see whatever it's a setup for, like Browning, Benelli, Beretta, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry for the weird cut. Maddie was making a bunch of noise and messing around with one of her balls. But anyway, we're back. So here's gonna be a little startup. Not every choke is gonna be the same when it comes to markings and stuff like that. So like this one, I can't actually remember what brand it is specifically. I'm pretty sure it's one of the standard Mossberg ones. But as you can tell, the difference between this H&R and this choke is that the markings are completely different when it comes to telling what it is. On this one, you can easily see that it's a NEF improved cylinder 12 gauge, right? And on this one, all you really have to look at is these tiny little scratches up top. I don't know if you can see them, but see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and differences, what does that mean? Basically, it just kind of tells you which one's which. So starting off, here is gonna be our cylinder choke. Cylinder choke is pretty self-explanatory, meaning that it's basically the cylinder or the same size bore as your average 12 gauge barrel. So this is gonna be pretty much effective from 20 to 30 yards. So it's gonna be your closer, more open. You're gonna get a more open shot spread in regards to a closer range. So if I'm hunting, let's say, mostly woodcock in a dense wooded area, this is what I'm gonna be going with, right? Anything that's gonna be close up, whether it's flyby dove hunting, Maddie, stuff like that, right? Next up, we've got an improved cylinder. So pretty self-explanatory too. It's just slightly more constricting than your regular cylinder. So improved cylinder is gonna be halfway between your improved and your modified. So you're looking at about 30 yards, 35 yards is where you're gonna wanna use this. A lot of people like using these for skeet shooting, dove hunting, just kind of closer range applications, but you're really not wanting to reach super far out there, right? It's kind of a pretty happy medium in between these two. All right, next up is my favorite choke. It's what I'm using 90% of the season, whether it's dove, squirrel, duck. A lot of the time, it's just a good all-around choke. It's what a lot of people use as well. It's a modified choke. Usually these are good about 26 to 42 yards. They're, you know, modified middle. They're a great happy medium between these. Like I said, I run these pretty consistently unless I'm, you know, shooting high-flying geese or using an over tight turkey tube, you know, turkey choke tube. It's actually what's in both of my shotguns right now. But yeah, they're great chokes. I like them a lot. Next up, we've got the full. So there's also an improved modified, but it's kind of the difference between the modified and, you know, improved modified and full is just kind of negligible. So, you know, like I said, we're gonna keep it stupid simple here. So this one's a full. A lot of people really like these for larger geese, turkey. This is probably going to be your #1 thing, just because you want that pattern tight enough to be able to take out the head of the turkey without damaging any of the breast meat and stuff like that. Same with far shooting pheasants. Like if you ever see those like copper plated shots at your local gun store with the high brass bottom loads, #6s specifically, that's what you're going to be rocking in these for, you know, far flying pheasant. Same with goose or fast rabbit and squirrel, you're shooting from a distance. like after the trees drop all their leaves in the winter and fall, and squirrels are, you know, able to see you a little more, you don't really feel like sitting down, this is what you're gonna rock with, you know. Basic, simple, full choke. Usually you're gonna be able to pattern these out pretty solidly to about 40 yards, maybe 45 if you get a good brand of tube. So yeah, one thing you also got to remember too is it's just not solely based on the choke tube. Your barrel is going to come into account, what load you're using is going to come into account, what size shot you're using is going to come into account, and the type of shot you're using is coming into account. I'm not really going to dabble into steel shot and any of those non-toxic waterfowl loads, but they also bring a whole different perspective when it comes to choosing a choke. And they're specifically made chokes for waterfowl that are going to take tungsten, bismuth, and, you know, non-lead shot like steel and stuff like that. Now, this is one of the like lesser common ones you're going to find around. This is an extra full. If you can tell, you can probably tell kind of a visual difference between these two. Let's see if I can get that right there. You can definitely tell that this is a lot thicker, so it's got a lot tighter constriction than this open cylinder choke is going to have. This one is just going to be for, you know, your turkey fanatics that are really wanting to reach out there and smack, you know, a gobbler at 50, maybe 60 yards if you're using TSS with like a 28-inch barrel off like a Savage 301 turkey. It's kind of one of the rare ones you're not really going to see often, just because it's not really useful for most applications, just because of the density you're going to get with this tube is going to be so tight that either you're going to miss whatever you're shooting at, or if you do hit it, you're going to pretty much destroy it completely. Like this season, I forgot to change out a turkey choke when we were going for teal, and I smoked a green wing teal at about 25 yards, and it definitely wasn't pretty. One thing you also got to remember is a lot of people over choke. Don't be the person that over chokes. Get good at knowing distances. Go to the skeet range. Go shoot a lot, just because for your benefit, especially when it comes over to hunting. Because the more proficient you are with your choke selection and your gun, the less animals you're going to wound, and the better of a shot you're going to be. And like I said, when it comes to range identification, you want to get really, really familiar with the ranges you're shooting at, so you know what you can take and what you can't take. Just because a lot of people really think they need more choke, especially when they're shooting smaller game animals like doves and teal, than they actually do, just because it's a smaller target, so it looks further away. So enough about chokes for the minute. I'm gonna go briefly into shot size stuff. Let's get these out of here on the table. Here's, oh, geez, we're running away over there. Here's a, you know, your normal federal game load, 25 shot shells. For ammunition, you got a bunch of what looks like to be bob white quail or grouse flying around back there. But 20 gauge, 2 3/4 inches, one of the most standard loads you're gonna find for pretty much any gauge shotgun, 7th to 8th ounce of shot. Usually 12 gauges are gonna be about 1 ounce to 1 3/4 ounce of shot. It just really depends. And this is number 8. So it's gonna be one of the smaller shot sizes you're gonna wanna use for smaller birds such as dove, etc., etc. But one thing I've also found really cool about Federal is that they make this nifty little gauge, distance, and choke and shot size thing. So if you're ever, you know, out in the woods, you're out shooting and you kind of like forget about distances and chokes and stuff, you can always pull this little nifty thing out or cut it out and put it in your hunting vest. So, you know, if you, let's say you're out on a rough grouse hunt, right? And you're, you know, rocking number 6s or number 5s or whatever, and you're shooting an improved choke or a modified choke, and you suddenly realize that there's a lot of woodcock where you're at, just because woodcock usually coincide wherever rough grouse coincide, usually not vice versa, but, you know, I digress. So you just want to switch it up. So you're like, oh, well, what should I do? And take a quick look at this, drop that modified choke out, put a skeet or a, you know, open cylinder choke in there, and, you know, throw some 7.5s or number 8s and rock on. But yeah, so going off of that, with shot sizes, anything above number 7 is going to be your best bet, such as these for most most bird applications. Yeah, most bird applications are going to be good with that. So going down the line, just a little bit, I've got a box of Winchester Super X's right here, which I really like. Most of what I shoot is Winchester Super X anyway. This one's lead-free shot, so it's Super X steel. Which one thing you got to be vigilant of is if you're shooting in a state with a lead shot restriction, such as California, or on a wildlife management area that doesn't allow you to use lead shot. Make sure you're picking up some of these so you avoid a ticket from the game warden. But anyway, these, I really like these, not just the steel, but also the lead shot ones. Whenever I'm hunting squirrels or anything like that, just because it gives you a little bit more oomph with the number 6 shot. It's still got a small bit of a powder on it compared to the high brass ones, but these are still super great. Number 6s are usually what you're going to be using for some people use them for teal. When it comes to duck hunting, you can do that. That's completely fine. I personally use them for pheasant, you know, grouse, any bigger, heavier set bird, about maybe 3/4 the size of a chicken and up. Squirrels I use these a lot for, and yeah, pretty much any usual small game that's going to be a little bit harder to take down than, you know, a bunch of little tiny number 8 shot. Coming up the list, we've got Winchester Super X again, which I told you I already like. This one's a 12 gauge loading. This one's a 3-inch round, shooting at 1210 velocity, loaded with 1 7/8 ounce amount of shot, and it's a number 4 shot. Some people like using number 4 for squirrels and rabbits too, if they're a little harder to take down. Like I said, it's really up to you. But yeah, this one is number 4, so it's going to be a little bit bigger. Depending on where you're at in the country, you can't use anything larger than a number 2 shot, so this is a perfect mixture. This is a nice Magnum turkey load. Depending on how your gun functions in patterns, you can get some really good patterns out of these at some good distance. So yeah, it's just really, I cannot stress enough about how much your gun likes to pattern a certain load. Going a little bit up from there, just because, like I said, we're going to avoid the waterfowl steel shot thing as much as possible, is we're pulling up on some buckshot, double-aught, low recoil. Now this is some home defense stuff. This isn't stuff I'd really use to actually hunt with when it comes to deer drives and stuff like that. But it's a really simple, let's see, yeah, it's a really simple, I'm pretty sure it's 2 3/4. Yeah, 2 3/4 length, 1200 FPS, 9 pellets of double-aught buck. A little bit of a high brass load. Usually what you're going to be using these with is for, some people coyote hunt with them, some people hog hunt, a lot of people deer hunt with them, you know, buckshot, quote unquote, depending on your area. Remember, check legalities whenever you're doing that. But yeah, I'd say that's as simple as I can think of breakdown of shot sizes and chokes, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.